Hello, friends in ADHD. This is Russ Barkley back again with a short commentary on the topic of ADHD. And in this commentary, I want to briefly address the issue that there are no diagnostic tests out there for ADHD at this time. A week doesn't go by, if not a day, that I don't receive emails from people asking me, is this test accurate? Should I use that test in my practice? Should I take this test that my clinician wants me to take? Does this diagnose ADHD? And the answer, very short answer, there are no tests for the accurate diagnosis of ADHD in clinical practice. Blood tests as well as to genetic tests. We know that ADHD is inherited. We know that there are genes that contribute to it, but we don't know all those genes. We don't even know most of those genes, and therefore we can't design a genetic test that can accurately tell us if someone has ADHD or not. And it may turn out that it's a combination of genes. So let's say, just for the sake of argument, that there are 100 genes for ADHD, right? And that you need 10 or 15 of them to get ADHD. But the 10 or 15 one person has may be different from the other. So the genetic test simply can't be used to make that determination. I wish we had a test for ADHD that we could use in clinical practice. We simply don't. So what we are left with is what we're left with in all of psychiatry and psychology. There are no tests, no objective measures for any mental disorder at this time. So consequently, we have to fall back on our tried and true approach to diagnosis, which is an open-ended interview. What brings you here? What are you concerned about? And so on. Following that up with a structured interview, going through the DSM criteria for the relevant disorders we think might exist given what you've told us, including those for ADHD. If it's ADHD, we're going to review them a second time for whether or not those symptoms and criteria existed in your childhood. We're also likely to give you broadband rating scales of different kinds of psychopathology, depression, anxiety, attention, and so on. We'll follow that up with rating scales that are specific to ADHD or other disorders like adult ADHD or child ADHD rating scales. These rating scales have norms for the population so we can determine how deviant a person is. That is, how abnormal their score is on the scales. We need to find measures of impairment through interviews, through records, and some rating scales of impairment in major life activity. If we think they're relevant, we'll do a quick screen for intelligence or academic achievement tests, because learning disabilities can be very common in people with ADHD. We'll follow that up by interviewing someone who knows you well. And if we can't find such a person, then we're going to fall back on your school records or other archival records to indicate presence of likely symptoms and impairment that have persisted over at least 6 months or more. So that's what we're going to be looking for. That's it. No objective measures of ADHD exist right now that are accurate enough to be recommended for clinical practice for diagnosing ADHD in either children or adults. I hope you found this commentary useful to you. I will sign off by saying, live well, be well, and see you next time. Thank you so much.